Oh, okay. Th- Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm
Good morning. And welcome to the UU Church of the South Hills, also known as Sunnyhill. We're delighted that you could join us for this service. Our mission at Sunnyhill is to create a more just and compassionate community within and beyond our walls. My name is Carol Slomsky, and I am a member of the Sunnyhill Beloved Conversations team. If you're a newcomer or visitor to our congregation, please go to sunnyhill.org and click on the button that says New to Sunnyhill to receive more information about our congregation and to receive our weekly email newsletter. If you're joining us online today, please say hello or good morning in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. We'd like to hear from you and extend a welcome to you as well. Beloved Conversations is a program for Unitarian Universalists seeking to embody racial justice as a spiritual practice. In Beloved Conversations, participants explore how to heal the impact of racism on our lives in order to get free together. Our sermon today will focus on the proposed eighth principle of Unitarian Universalism, which is: we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Our opening words come from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Power at its best is love, implementing the demands of justice. And justice at its best is power, correcting everything that stands against love. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that.
Good morning. Please join me in saying the words for lighting our chalice. This light we kindle is set in the lamp of our history. We inherit this free faith from the brave and gentle, fierce and outspoken hearts and minds that come before us. Let us be worthy inheritors of this faith, and through our good works, pass it boldly to a new generation. And now, please join us in body or spirit in singing our opening hymn, This Little Light of Mine.
This All right, so typically I would invite all of our children to come forward, but we're just young at heart here this morning, so you are welcome to stay in your seats for our time for all ages today. Did you know that love is a really big deal in Unitarian Universalism? I bet you did, because we just can't stop talking about it.
I think you're right, Jen. It's always love this, side with love of that. Justice is what love looks like in public. We weren't the first ones to say that. That was Dr. Cornel West. But we love it so much that we sing it back to him and the universe all the time.
There was once a scientist guy who asked all kinds of people, not just Unitarian Universalists, what they thought of love and how important it was for them. His name was Robert Miller. It turns out that of all the groups he studied, religious or not, UUs rank love as a core value more so than others do.
I guess love really is a big deal for UUs. So let's remember that. We're going to get back to that.
Another big deal in Unitarian Universalism is our principles. They're a big part of our covenant with each other. We know they're a big deal because we have so many ways to talk about them, to make sure all the different brains and bodies and ages understand them. There's this way, which is really just our principles in English.
And there's this way, which is the list in Spanish.
You can even see our principles in languages such as Arabic and Thai.
And there's this way, which is my personal favorite, in language for kids.
I like that one too. And then there's this cool principles wheel that was created by Reverends Ian Riddell and Kimberly Debus, which shows a non-linear way to think about the relationships between the different principles.
There's so many ways for us to understand our principles. All these ways are focused on the 7 principles. When Unitarian Universalism first came into being in 1961, we only had 6 principles. Our 7th principle was proposed in 1985 and added in 1987. One way to imagine our principles was originally suggested by Reverend Barbara Welstenhove. It's called a keystone arch. The arch is like a doorway. We walk through the arch into what this faith calls us towards.
It's kind of cool because the 4th principle, that's the one at the very top, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, is at its center, holding together the space for us to balance between each individual's inherent worth and the needs of the great community of which we are a part. But do doorways or arches ever exist all by themselves, just floating in air? No, not typically when they're not on a slideshow. They're usually stabilized on the ground, a part of a larger building or structure. So maybe there's a principle still missing.
Why not? We figured out 35 years ago that the 7th principle was missing. Maybe there is another missing principle. Maybe this will be the principle that will become the ground upon which the doorway is built.
Maybe it's the whole house of love we're always trying to create for ourselves, each other, and the world.
Maybe if we add an 8th principle, we will get closer to the beloved community we dream about, where there is no oppression of any kind, where we can say Black Lives Matter, but we don't have to because they already do.
I want to be part of building this house of love. Do you? And with that, we would be singing our at this moment, but instead we're going to go ahead and skip straight to special music. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jean Ferlin, and I am a member of the Pastoral Care Team. Our responsibility is to reach out to members of Sunnyhill going through challenging or significant life events, whatever they may be, offering the loving presence that binds our community together. If you want to get in touch with us, you may contact us directly, call the church office, or send an email to pastoralcare@sunnyhill.org. Each week at this time in the service, we share joys and sorrows submitted by members of the congregation. We share the things we are celebrating, as well as things we are mourning, so that they need not be held alone. Joys and sorrows may be submitted online from our website. After each joy or sorrow that I read, please respond by saying, "We hold you in our hearts." We have a sorrow from Diane Rush. My mom, Evelyn Ritter, passed away on Sunday, July 31st, at the age of 95. Up until a week before she died, she was still singing along to our favorite song, "You Are My Sunshine," and her favorite Christmas songs. Her dementia had progressed rather slowly over the 20 years, and so I was lucky that we never lost our connection. She called me her favorite daughter, even though I was her only daughter, and I called her my favorite mom. She was the sweetest, kindest, most patient person I know, and also gave the best hugs. I will miss her. A remembrance service will be held Friday, August 12th at Beinhauer Funeral Home in McMurray. Details are on the Beinhauer website. Let us bear in mind this sorrow, as well as those that are held too closely to be shared. All we have carried through the seasons of our lives has brought us together here at this place, made sacred by our coming together. May we hold all that we carry in the warm embrace of this loving community.
Please join me in this, there we go. Please join me in the spirit of meditation. You can relax in your seat. I invite you to take a few deep centering breaths. This is a meditation by Suzel Stebbins Collins. Begin with the awareness of your own dignity and vast consciousness supported by the earth. Aware of breath, body, and heart. In touch with my goodness, in touch with all goodness. In touch with perceptions and feelings about my race, feeling in heart, body, compassion, easing, releasing. In touch with perceptions and feelings about people of other races, feeling in heart, body, compassion, easing, releasing. Being fully present in the present moment. Breath, body, sensations. Letting go of all that arises in your mind. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to the room. may be so. Amen.
Please join us in singing There Is More Love Somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Hi, this is Jean again. I forgot the most important part of the joys and sorrows when I shared about Diane's mother's passing. So I would like to say at this time, to Diane Rush and her family, we hold you in our hearts.
Hello again. This day at this time is very special to me. I suspect it's special to you as well. We give this to ourselves as a gift. At other days and at other times, we may steal a moment, maybe two, from our other pursuits and attend to our spiritual needs. But on this day and at this time, we gather to attend to our spiritual strivings, to reflect on what we are doing, or on how we are doing, or on what we might do next. Today, our team is going to focus on this last, what we might do next. As Unitarian Universalists, we have entered into covenant to affirm and promote 7 principles. With the first, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, the pole star guiding us as we support one another's lifelong spiritual journeys. As together, we work to create a just and compassionate community within and beyond our walls. This work we are doing as individuals in community, this is what I think of as our spiritual striving. Our 7 principles are a guide and a tool for this work. They resonate deeply for us. Some seem to express timeless truths. Others seem to reflect hard-won wisdom. It came as some surprise to me then, when a couple of weeks ago, I learned they are younger than me. They were adopted in 1987, when I was in high school. Our principles arrived at their current form after an almost 10-year process between 1978 and 1987, involving activism, congregational engagement, writing, study, reflection, revising, and 2 different votes in the General Assembly. This process culminated when the UUA General Assembly adopted our current 7 principles and added something new, the naming of 5 living traditions that are important to UUs. A 6th tradition, earth-centered religions, was added in 1995. Today, we call these traditions the 6 sources of our faith. In 1961, when the Universalist Church of America and the American Unitarian Association merged to form the Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA, the new association adopted 6 principles as an expression of what they were about. They also adopted a policy that grants value to our spiritual growth as individuals and as congregations. The bylaws of the UUA require that at least every 15 years, we must review Article 2, the section of the bylaws that contains, among other things, the UUA Statement of Purpose and Principles. In this process of review, we are counseled to hold nothing sacred. Instead, we, as a people joined in covenant through our UUA congregations, must consider whether what we have inherited as Article 2 adequately reflects our understanding of how to thrive in spiritual community today and into the future. We approach this task with a bold humility. It is likely we have learned something since this process of reflection last took place, but we appreciate that our experience is limited. We appreciate this. And by that I mean we value, and we may even be excited about the fact that each day, and with each person we engage, we get the chance to learn something new. And if things go well, we will change as individuals and as a community in beautiful ways we cannot yet imagine. The last period of review, which began in 2006 and ended in 2010, resulted in no changes to Article 2. In 2020, this process was again initiated when the UUA created an Article 2 study commission. According to a commissioning statement put out by the UUA, the Article 2 Study Commission is, quote, charged to review all sections of Article 2 and is free to revise, replace, or restructure them as needed, end quote. Specifically, this newest commission is charged to respond in some way to, quote, the clear call at General Assembly 2017 for the inclusion of another, an 8th principle, explicitly calling us to be committed to active anti-racism. As a congregation gathered in covenant with other congregations through the UUA, we have been called by this study commission to make our voice heard in this process. So, as the team which you this May commissioned to help bring our congregation ever closer to alignment with our values and our vision of the beloved community, Today we extend this invitation for what we might do next. In keeping with UU tradition, it is an invitation to discussion. Or perhaps better put, in keeping with the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large, otherwise known as the fifth principle, we are issuing an invitation for you to enter with us into a time of discernment, a time of inclusive engagement, open discussion, and deliberative reflection to consider whether we at Sunnyhill wish to adopt the eighth principle, and, as a separate matter, whether we at Sunnyhill would encourage the eighth principle be adopted by the UUA. In a few moments, Janie will share the particulars of how we are envisioning this process of engagement will unfold, as well as some other things we are working on as your BC team. But before that, Corey will introduce the eighth principle and provide some background information about it. I look forward to striving together with all of you over the next few months as we consider what might be the next step in this spiritual journey we have chosen to share together.
So where did the eighth principle come from originally? The eighth principle reads, "We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions." And where does the eighth principle come from? Paula Cole-Jones is one of Unitarian Universalism's strongest advocates for racial and social justice and has served in positions such as Director of Racial and Social Justice for the Joseph Priestley District of the UUA, President of DRUM, the Diverse and Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries, this is a mouthful, and a congregational life consultant in our own Central East region. While serving as Director of Racial and Social Justice, she identified the existence of two different paradigms circulating within UU circles. One, the UU 7 principles, and second, the vision of deep multiculturalism known as beloved community. After working for over 15 years with many congregations on issues of diversity and inclusion, she suggested that UUs needed an eighth principle that would affirm and promote our shared commitment to combat racism and other oppressions. She talked with Bruce Pollock Johnson of the UU Church of the Restoration in Philadelphia about some of the components that should be in this new principle. Bruce then put together an initial draft in 2013, and the two of them worked with a group of anti-racist activists in their district to refine it. At that time, Bruce's congregation incorporated it into their covenant, and then, in May 2017, they formally adopted it for themselves and recommended that the UUA adopt it. Historically, UUs have a mixed record in areas of racial justice. We had people on both sides of abolitionism, and later some Unitarians were proponents of eugenics. More recently, UUs and the UUA have done a very good job in fighting racism through active involvement in the civil rights movement, for example, and by adopting a resolution at the 1997 General Assembly that committed the UUA to actively work at becoming an anti-racist, anti-oppression, multicultural organization. However, the funding and support for this commitment started to wane in the 2000s, the very years when Paula Cole-Jones was working to help congregations take action on this commitment. Our accountability mechanism failed us. For people identified as white, it is easy to ignore these issues, which is exactly what keeps the system of racism in our society alive, and in fact worsening right now. We need to decenter whiteness and other dominant cultures in Unitarian Universalism. The eighth principle came from Paula Cole-Jones's realization that, as she puts it, A person can believe they are being a good UU and following the 7 principles without thinking or dealing with racism and other oppressions at a systemic level. Building on this realization over the last decade, many UUs and UUA congregations have felt that we needed something to fulfill the potential of our existing principles, to renew our commitment to anti-racist work, and to hold ourselves accountable to our commitments.
Tim and Corey have talked about the history of the 7 principles and the origin of the 8th principle. And that brings us to 2 questions. Why is now the time for Sunnyhill to consider the 8th principle? And what will this look like? We think Sunnyhill should take its place in a process that some might say started in 1997 and will finally conclude in 2024. To date, 222 congregations have adopted the 8th principle. Many others, including other member congregations in UU Pittsburgh, have started or intend to start consideration of the 8th principle. We would like Sunnyhill to start their own 8th principle journey. Here's where Sunnyhill fits in that timeline. At the 1997 General Assembly, the UUA voted to commit to intentionally becoming an anti-racist, anti-oppression, multiculturalism institution. In the early 2000s, funding and support for much of this work began to decline. In 2013, a first draft of an 8th principle was incorporated into the covenant of the UU Church of the Restoration in Philadelphia. Then in March 2017, the UUA was accused of having inclusive hiring practices, especially related to whites being hired over highly qualified Latinx candidates. As a result, then UUA President Peter Morales resigned. In response to this hiring crisis, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, or BLUE, and diverse revolutionary UU multicultural ministries, or DRUM, endorsed the 8th principle. BLUE's main point is that the UUA had voted in 1997 to commit to intentionally becoming an anti-racist, anti-oppression, multiculturalism institution. 20 years later, it is 2017, and the UUA finds itself embroiled in a hiring crisis not dissimilar to what other organizations, public or private, profit or nonprofit, face. In fall 2020, the Board of Trustees of the UUA charged the Article 2 Study Commission to review Article 2, centering Unitarian Universalism's commitment to personal, institutional, and cultural change rooted in anti-oppression, anti-racism, and multiculturalism values and practices. The Commission will conclude its study this fall and no later than January 2023 present its recommendations to the Board of Trustees of the UUA. The recommendations will be placed on the June 2023 General Assembly business agenda for the first vote. Adoption of changes to Article 2 require 2 votes, and the second one will be at GA in 2024. We would like Sunnyhill to have a period of learning, discussion, and reflection on the 8th principle from now through March of 2023. This will conclude with a vote at the annual meeting in April. At that time, the congregation will decide if Sunnyhill should adopt the 8th principle. So our work will conclude shortly before the General Assembly convenes in June 2023. And here's the exciting part for us, and I know a lot of you know this. The 2023 General Assembly will be here in Pittsburgh. So it's a good time for us to get moving on this. So what will this learning period look like? We will be offering Sunnyhill 3 different opportunities for educating themselves about the 8th principle. First, independent study. Tim has done an excellent job collecting and collating links to articles and videos about the 8th principle, and these have been put into a single reference document. Members can access the information through the website beginning today. Jen did all the fabulous work on the website, as usual. So you can go to the home page and click on Justice, go down to Beloved Conversations team. 8th principle resources for Sunnyhill members. And there you are. We will have a small number of printed copies, but we would encourage people to use the online version because we will be updating the resource. So, independent study about the 8th principle starts today. Second opportunity, small group workshops. We are finalizing dates and times for small group workshops to discuss some of the materials about the 8th principle. The workshops will be held at Sunnyhill or virtually via Zoom. Third is a listening campaign. If you cannot attend an in-person or virtual workshop, you can participate in a one-on-one listening campaign. We want to make sure that packed calendars and busy schedules do not prevent any Sunnyhiller from an opportunity to share their thoughts on the 8th principle. These conversations, again, can be held in person, by phone, or via Zoom. There is a fourth opportunity that's sort of like extra credit. And I realize as I prepared all this, I sort of have an after-school vibe going on with what I'm saying here. So your extra credit. We are scheduling 3 watch parties for the documentary, Who We Are, A Chronicle of Racism in America. This documentary is not about the 8th principle, but it is a thoughtful and factual exploration of racism in America. We think you might find this film helpful as you explore the 8th principle. This is on Netflix, so some of you may have seen this already. The watch parties will be held at Sunnyhill and hosted by 2 members of the Beloved Conversations team. Following each screening, we will have an informal conversation about the film. If there is interest, we will organize Zoom discussion groups. This would be handled much like a book group, but your assignment would be to watch the film on your own time and then join in a Zoom discussion. We will have childcare for the on-site watch parties, so when you sign up, be sure to let us know if you need childcare. And we will be in Fellowship Hall after this service to answer questions and wave some sign-up sheets underneath you. So, our closing hymn is Spirit Says Do, so please rise in body and or spirit and join us.
You gotta do when Spirit says do. You gotta do when Spirit says do.
Takes me a while to get all adjusted here. Thank you. It's time for our morning offering. Today's offering will be staying with Sunnyhill this morning, but going directly to the continued work of the Beloved Conversations program at Sunnyhill. The members that you heard from today have spent the last 2 years in weekly sessions learning, reading, and challenging one another in the effort to bring a more radically inclusive Sunnyhill to reality. The Beloved Conversations is the signature offering of the FOS Collaborative of the Meadville Lombard Theological School. The members of the Beloved Conversations team have paid a substantial portion, and you, the congregation, have contributed close to $1,000 for this work. The program itself costs several times that. We appreciate your continued generosity. If you'd like to make a gift via our online giving system, you can do so by going to sunnyhill.org and click on the button that says Online Giving, and then follow the instructions. Or you can give by text at 412-343-3130. Text the amount of your gift and the word special if you want your payment to apply to our designated offering, or text the word pledge if you'd like your gift to apply to your 2022 Sunnyhill pledge. You can also mail a check if you prefer, and you can find our mailing address on our website, sunnyhill.org. For those of you who are here with us in person, we'll be passing our offering baskets in just a moment. And thank you, everyone, for your generosity. Please join me in saying the words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our closing words have come from Kimberly Quinn Johnson. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We're not perfect, but we're perfectly fitted for this day. We're not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. I want to review with you, although I think you've gathered who's in the Beloved Conversations team. Corey Ripperman, Jane Elliott, Carol Slomsky, Jen McLaughlin, and Tim Dawson, and myself, Pat Murray. I've spent the better part of the last 2 years doing this. We look forward to continued conversations over coffee this morning and in the months ahead. We will have sign-up sheets available today as well. Due to the current Allegheny County COVID transmission rate, we're having coffee outside this morning. Please grab your cup and head out there for fellowship. Please go in peace.